This is a clip from our stream with Philip Bloom on the new Sony A7s III. He's been lucky enough to use the camera for a while now and has filmed some beautiful stuff with it, including some absolutely fantastic low light films. And so we asked him what his experiences were like working with the new model, and has he seen that much of a difference with the low light performance? I mean, this is the A7s we're talking about here. You know, low light is its thing. This is what made this camera famous in the first place. We all know that it's good in low light, but how good is it? Is it significantly better than the previous generations? Is it that little bit better? What do you reckon?
I didn't see anything that would call it significantly better. I've heard people say it's a stop better, but I haven't seen that. It was very much the same to me, which is good. It's still very good. The only thing I did find that we've had previous issues with is when you go to the crazy high ISOs, you could get this purple edging. That doesn't happen anymore, so that's gone.
Right.
The only real thing about the low light performance is you've got to get it exposed. So there's no point having a high ISO shot and it's still underexposed, because then it will look appalling. You still got to get your exposure. So this is the issue I had in the Brighton shoot. I actually went back on a second day, because the first time I went, it was a clear sky, and because of the pandemic, the Brighton pier was closed. So the beach was very, very dark compared to when I went there 6 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, I'm having to go to 100,000 ISO to even get close to exposure. I'm still under. This is not going to look good. And one of the issues we have when we're shooting with the camera at high ISO, I mean, it does it in lower ISOs, we just don't see it as much, is you can't turn the noise reduction off. And that is not good, because, I mean, we want a little bit of natural, noise pattern. But when you're shooting in a really high ISO, it's like if it just has these artifacts, these little lines and things, which so we've got some frames that I sent you, which we can show in a second, because when I went down the second time, what I wanted to do, I wanted to wait for it to be cloudy, because then I would get some bounce light of the city. So I'd have something in the sky, so that it wouldn't just be black. You can see, so the shots, and if you look back at the video, the shots of the girl with the moon, that was the black sky, and the guy doing a somersault, but you don't see much of the sky. But when I was filming the other direction towards the West Pier, it was so just completely black. I was like, these shots are just going to look terrible on YouTube. It's just going to be black banding, black banding, black banding. I saw it, so I knew I had to go back. But what I found very interesting was, and I didn't do this, I did one shot, I think, in ProRes RAW at night on that first shoot. I thought there's no point in me shooting ProRes RAW. It's not going to work for this. The whole point that Sony want is for me to record internally, but I brought it along just to do a couple of tests, and I looked at it. I brought it into the end. I went, oh my God, that is awful. The noise in ProRes RAW was mental. I was like, I've never seen anything like it. But because it didn't have the actual noise reduction, it cleaned up. It cleaned up amazingly. And that is key, because it's RAW, there's no noise reduction added. And I was able to actually, with Neat Video or DaVinci Resolve noise reduction is way faster, and it's great for just a little bit of noise. When you have a crazy amount of noise, like Neat Video is much more surgical. The downside is, oh my God, it takes a long time to render. Especially if you're using ProRes RAW, it's like, there's one frame, maybe I'll watch another episode of some TV show, and it might have done another frame by that point, and then it finishes it like after 6 days, that render of 10 seconds, and you go, bit too strong, let's try it again. It's torture. So,
is that why you're late on your review? is that why you didn't make Embargo launch?
My advice is, when you shoot ProRes RAW and you need to use Neat Video, don't convert it to ProRes and then work with it. Then it's much less painful. So, I mean, if you've got those frames, you can see the comparison.
Should we bring them up and have a little look?
Yeah, so the first frame is 80,000 ISO. And it's underexposed because it's dark. That's what happens. And you can't quite see it there. The next shot is the ProRes RAW, and you'll notice, well, you won't notice it here, but it's got this more colored noise. But when you go to the next frame, you'll see a 200% blow up.
So I don't know how well this is going to come across on the stream, obviously, because we're applying so much compression to it. Hopefully we'll see it.
When you look at the 400%, and you'll see it in my review as well, so I go over all of this, and you'll see in the 400% blow up. And don't forget, this is a very early pre-production as well of the ProRes RAW, so this it's probably going to end up being better quality anyway. But if you look at the internal, it's got this the edges are no good, and you have a lot of, that's what happens with the noise reduction in camera when you go high ISOs. The edges go, and it's all sort of like fuzzy, which is nasty. And so you go to the next slide, and then you'll see, hopefully, so then you see some neat video applied. And it's quite heavy because it was a lot of noise, the neat video that I used. And then you'll see what I then did, graded it darker and added film convert grain to make it look less plasticky. But that's the problem is, if I had more time, good thing is I can replace my Vimeo version. I'm going to go back and do some more work on the light stuff. Not new shots, but just more work and just be a bit more, because I say it takes a lot of time, because I want it to be really perfect. And I know I can get amazing results with it. It's just the time that it takes to render. At the end of the day, I had to get this video to Sony. I was like, if you actually look at how many versions I made maybe 40 to 50 exports and uploaded them all to YouTube. And they're still on there on my YouTube. You can't see them because they're unlisted. And just to see, they looked okay on my computer, but when I got them onto YouTube, it was like, now it's got worse. The banding was like, it was like that episode of Game of Thrones where it was so dark and you couldn't see anything. It was like the banding was like, there was like massive chunks of one color. It was like, or one shade. It was like, that's ridiculous. And you put it onto Vimeo, which is 10-bit, and it didn't have any of that. And I tried H.264, I tried multipassing, I tried uploading in every variety, every bit rate. And eventually what I had to do was brighten up the shot a lot to make it less dark, which isn't what I wanted. So you'll see a different look. So the Vimeo version has darker shots at night compared to the YouTube version.
So for people out there that want to actually look at your stuff to try and judge the image quality as best as possible, presumably downloading from Vimeo the original file is the way to go, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't use the word judge, because it's like, same with the ProRes RAW video. You can only judge an image by seeing it untouched natively. Yeah. And I haven't shared anything. I can't show any ProRes RAW, but I'm happy to share some native clips from internal, and I'll do that when I publish my review. I'll put them on Dropbox or something, and you can have a look, and you can see just how good they are. So, but and the judging is also from how you're using the camera. But you can look, everything is subjective. You don't judge the colors of a camera based upon what I've done, because that's not the colors of the camera. That's me.